happened to my child? I can't believe you just stood there and did nothing. My family do not agree with the deal, with the plea that has been made today.
In the final days of July 2022, in the city of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, the rhythm of life continued along its familiar, tranquil trajectory. Murfreesboro is a college town located about 30 miles southeast of Nashville, where weekends typically pass in the relaxed atmosphere of working citizens and students. Here, Mya Fuller stood out as a 22-year-old full of ambition and intellect. Called a genius by family and friends for her sharpness and acute mindset, Mya lived a hard-working, humble life. She was closely bonded with her family and maintained a strict work schedule, which included shifts at the Geodis Park soccer stadium in Nashville. Her life was a miniature picture of effort and bright expectations for the future. Not far away, in the Nashville metropolitan area, 21-year-old Tayana Tipton was drifting through loose social relationships and a lifestyle easily swayed by impulsive emotions. The lives of Mya and Tayana naturally belonged to two parallel worlds, sharing no common ground when looking at their living circumstances and personal directions. Yet, the fragile boundary between peace and effort on one side and psychological deviance on the other began to waver on a weekend evening when the two unknowingly stepped into an irreversible collision trajectory. All the unease began with a trivial argument that took place on the evening of July 29, 2022, between Mya Fuller and Tayana Tipton. While Mya quickly brushed off the back-and-forth words and returned to her normal routine, on the other side, Tayana nurtured a dark malice, deciding to turn that petty grievance into a deadly trap. Fully aware that appearing in person would make Mya alert, Tayana ruthlessly used her own biological younger brother, Tyan Bowles, 20 years old, as a pawn. Tyan scoured social media, found the profile of Mya, a girl he had never known, and sent a fake message inviting her to a party at the Island Vibes nightclub on the evening of July 30th, 2022. Falling into the trap in the most natural way by trusting an innocuous invitation from a stranger online, Mya stepped to the meeting place with the complete openness of a young person enjoying the weekend. However, the moment Mya set foot in the dimly lit parking lot of the club late at night, the door of life closed. Tayana Tipton and accomplice Lamyra Pipkins ambushed in the shadows, viciously attacking the victim in a 2-on-1 assault. Despite the screams for help and desperate resistance from the 22-year-old girl, they brutally beat the victim until her ribs and leg bones were shattered. Not stopping there, the perpetrators opened the trunk of the victim's own gray Toyota Camry, stuffed Mya's writhing, severely injured body into the pitch-black space, and sped away from the scene. They drove across county lines, taking the victim to an undeveloped, deserted plot of land on Trammell Lane in Wilson County. There, amidst the silent wilderness, the trunk popped open and Tayana Tipton coldly pulled the trigger, firing 7 bullets directly into Mya before leaving her behind in the mud. The unusually prolonged silence from Mya Fuller plunged her family into extreme panic when all calls went unanswered. Realizing that their daughter always maintained a regular communication habit, the family quickly reported the sudden disappearance to the police. The first clue led law enforcement to the parking lot of the Island Vibes nightclub, where Mya's gray Toyota Camry still sat quietly in its original spot, doors locked and completely devoid of its owner. Nearly a week passed in vain, and the haunting answer finally surfaced on August 6, 2022, on a developing plot of land on Trammell Lane in Wilson County. While inspecting the area, the property owner smelled an unusually pungent foul odor lingering in the air, surrounded by swarms of flies. As they approached the area of the old storm shelters behind the hillside, they were shocked to discover a pair of sneakers exposed on the ground alongside a severely decomposing body. Greatly panicked by the gruesome sight before them, the witness immediately called the Wilson County Sheriff's Office. As soon as the emergency call from the property owner reached the Wilson County Sheriff's Office, the investigative team and police officers immediately stepped on the gas. Cutting through the silent fog of the remote countryside, official vehicles rushed straight to the Trammell Lane area with urgent sirens. Stepping out of their vehicles, What hit the olfactory senses of the most seasoned detectives was not the fresh air of a developing land, but an overwhelmingly pungent, sickening odor of death rising from behind the hillside. Immediately, a strict cordon was established. Police officers quickly strung up yellow tape and turned on flashing warning lights to completely isolate the old shelter area. No one was allowed to walk carelessly. Each cautious step of the forensics team swept over the weeds, treading on muddy ground where flies swarmed a large space. And then, the scene unfolding before their eyes made the men of steel in law enforcement fall silent. Exposed on the ground was not just the smell of death, but a familiar pair of sneakers lying abandoned, the first clue confirming the presence of a human life, discarded like a lifeless object. Looking closer at the surrounding topography, the lead detective quickly recognized the chilling abnormality. No one crawls into this deserted, empty place on their own to end their life. The remote location, hidden behind old shelters across county lines, was precisely what denounced an ultimate crime of calculation and cruelty. This was no longer a routine missing person search. That desolate crime scene was the clearest declaration of war by evil, forcing the police to launch a comprehensive investigation to unmask the true face of the culprit. As the forensic team and criminal experts directly conducted a detailed examination of the Trammell Lane area, a series of crucial physical traces were gradually unraveled. The crime scene noted a complete absence of signs of a struggle on site, reinforcing the conclusion that this was merely a disposal site rather than the location of the initial murder. Forensic technicians recovered multiple spent shell casings scattered around the body's location, along with light truck tire tracks imprinted in the muddy soil. These data points indicated that the vehicle carrying the victim had stopped precisely in this out-of-sight area at the time of the crime. The autopsy conducted by the medical examiner's office provided scientifically decisive parameters for the case file. Forensic results determined that the victim's direct cause of death was multiple gunshot wounds, with a total of 7 bullets embedded in the body. Additionally, severe physical trauma was clearly documented on the skeletal structure, fractured ribs and broken leg bones, reflecting an extremely violent impact occurring prior to death. Based on the degree of soft tissue biodegradation and disappearance timeline data, the forensic team estimated that the time the victim was murdered coincided with the night of July 30th, 2022, closing all speculation about the time of death. The investigation officially entered an intensive phase as the Wilson County Sheriff's Office closely coordinated with the Metro Nashville Police Department to establish a joint task force. Initially, law enforcement faced a maze of overlapping data. The first investigative direction focused entirely on the victim's gray Toyota Camry found in the Island Vibes nightclub parking lot. Detectives extracted all closed-circuit television (CCTV) footage from the nightclub, as well as the inter-county highways connecting Nashville and Wilson County. Hundreds of hours of footage were brought to the analysis table to reconstruct every final second of the vehicle's movement and identify suspicious vehicles tailing behind during the time frame from the night of July 30 to the early morning of July 31st, 2022. Alongside image data, digital forensics teams turned every page of the victim's electronic activity history. Initial hypotheses surrounding robbery or work disputes at the Geodis Park Stadium were quickly ruled out because all personal belongings and the victim's phone had vanished, while the car remained intact in the public parking lot, a clear sign of staging intended to mislead the investigation. The real turning point of the case emerged when detectives delved deep into Mya Fuller's online social media applications. Data extracted from incoming messages drew investigators' attention away from routine social relationships and directly toward an unfamiliar name, an account that had just connected with the victim right before the night of the tragedy. Using advanced investigative measures, police cordoned off and identified the true owner behind that social media account. They discovered a group of 3 closely linked individuals, consisting of 2 biological siblings, Tiana Tipton and Tyan Bowles, and a close friend, Lamyra Pipkins. Cell tower pings and telecommunications tower data began to match perfectly with the travel route of the suspect truck driving across counties on the fateful night. Detectives continued gathering further testimony from witnesses around the nightclub area, step by step stripping away the disguised facade of the suspects. Every investigative spearhead at this point focused on stringing together digital and physical forensic evidence, preparing for a completely airtight legal trap before proceeding with the next steps of legal proceedings. In July 2023, nearly a year after the crime was committed, the legal net cast by the Wilson County Sheriff's Office tightened officially. Backed by search and arrest warrants from the court, tactical task forces coordinated with local police to simultaneously deploy lightning raids across multiple locations in the Nashville metropolitan area. The raid was calculated down to the second to deprive the suspects of any chance to escape or destroy evidence. At the hideout, the three subjects, Tiana Tipton, Tyon Bowles, and Lamyra Pipkins, were completely surprised by the sudden appearance of armed forces. There were no dramatic resistance scenes or breathtaking escapes like in the movies. Facing pointed rifles and clearly red handcuffs, the suspects' initial arrogance quickly collapsed. Tiana Tipton appeared sullen and uncooperative as she was escorted into the police cruiser, while Tyon Bowles and Lamyra Pipkins quickly fell into a state of panic, completely speechless at the reality that the facade concealing them for nearly a year had officially shattered. In the cold interrogation room of the Wilson County Sheriff's Office, the atmosphere was suffocatingly tense. Confronting experienced investigators, the three suspects initially chose an evasive attitude, denying all involvement and repeatedly offering baseless alibis to misdirect the investigation. All denials only began to crack when detectives applied an isolation strategy, completely separating all three subjects into individual rooms to break the uniformity of the script they had prepared in advance. Investigators laid out their cards one by one, from phone signal location maps matching down to the meter, recovered social media messaging data, to footage extracted from surveillance cameras. Facing the prospect of facing maximum sentences of life imprisonment or the death penalty, the psychology of Tyon Bowles and Lamyra Pipkins began to waver heavily. Panic erupted as one blamed the other to find a way to survive. Finally, the solid facade completely collapsed as each testimony was spoken aloud, confessing every detail from the online trap-setting plan, the brutal parking lot ambush, to the ruthless moment when Tiana Tipton pulled the trigger to end the victim's life at the empty lot. Entering the final legal completion phase, prosecutors from the district attorney's office, alongside investigators, compiled a dense file of irrefutable scientific and physical evidence. The core of the reinforced file lay in rigorous digital and forensic evidence systems, strung together to reconstruct the entire panoramic picture of the crime without relying entirely on the initial testimony of the suspects. Among them, key physical evidence included cell site location information, precisely matching the time and space of each suspect's movement from the Island Vibes parking lot to the vacant land on Trammell Lane. Criminal forensic experts also added results from fingerprint analysis, DNA samples collected from shell casings, and traces left on the victim's gray Toyota Camry. The perfect match between digital data, firearms analysis results, and footage from inter-county surveillance camera systems created an airtight legal iron ring. This rock-solid evidence system provided irrefutable legal grounds, directly forwarding the entire file to the grand jury to issue formal indictments with the highest level of criminal charges. Entering the official trial phase from 2025 to early 2026 in the Wilson County Court, the courtroom atmosphere remained immersed in extreme tension and choked up tears from the victim's family. Facing the prosecution's rock-solid digital and forensic evidence file, defense attorneys fell into a complete deadlock, unable to find any loopholes to turn the tide. Instead of entering tense, prolonged jury trials, facing the pressure of justice, the three defendants successively chose the path of plea deals to trade for a chance to escape the maximum death penalty. As the judge officially read the final verdict, the room sank into absolute silence. The sentenced terms became an accurate measure of the degree of crime for each culprit. Lamyra Pipkins received a 20-year prison sentence for aiding kidnapping and murder. Tyon Bowles received a 12-year sentence for his role as the decoy. And the peak of punishment struck Tiana Tipton, the cold mastermind who directly pulled the trigger. With charges of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and abuse of a corpse, Tiana Tipton officially received a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Bringing the gavel down decisively on the desk, the court closed a painful chapter, affirming that no matter how sophisticatedly calculated, evil ultimately cannot escape the rigorous judgment of the law. The verdict closing the case in Wilson County sparked fierce waves of debate in Tennessee public opinion and the broader online community. On legal forums and social media, no small number of opinions expressed outrage, arguing that the 12-year or 20-year sentences given to the two accomplices Lamyra Pipkins and Tyon Bowles were too lenient compared to the brutal crimes they committed alongside their sister. Debates surrounding plea deals continued to erupt, reflecting the public's lingering anxiety over the balance between legal deterrence and litigation reality. In contrast to public controversies, the greatest pain belonged to Mya Fuller's family. During the sentencing hearings, the image of the mother clutching her daughter's picture, choking back heartbroken farewell words, left a haunting pause for anyone present. For them, while the life sentence for mastermind Tiana Tipton somewhat eased justice, the loss of a 22-year-old talented and compassionate girl would be a wound that never heals. The case closed, but left a painful, profound lesson for society regarding caution in virtual relationships in cyberspace and the thin boundary of real-world violence. Looking back at the entire journey of the case, the life sentence for the mastermind somewhat returned fairness to the victim's family. Yet, behind that, there remain many controversies surrounding the prison terms of the accomplices. In your opinion, was this sentence truly satisfactory, or are there still things that leave you wondering? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. The modern world opens countless doors of connection for us, but in the opposite direction, it also erects the most sophisticated traps that no defense can anticipate. Mya Fuller's case is not merely a verdict for criminal cruelty, but also a chilling bell ringing out regarding the fragility of relationships hidden behind phone screens. A seemingly harmless friend request, a random weekend date, can sometimes be the beginning of a death trap laid in advance by twisted minds, jealousy, and unwarranted hatred. Naivete, or in other words, the open nature of a young person stepping out into life with goodwill, has become a weapon easily exploited to the fullest by bad actors. The scariest thing in this story lies not only in the 7 cold bullets in the desolate night, but also in the ruthless calculation executed by those who crossed paths in life over a petty back-and-forth argument. It exposes a dark corner in human psychology. When envy and impulsivity are unrestrained, it can corrupt a young soul into a demon, ready to rob an innocent person's life without batting an eye. The culprits may think they have hidden their crime behind meticulously disguised layers, but the price to pay is not just the iron walls of prison, but the total collapse of human dignity. Every wrongful death leaves an eternally unfilled void for those left behind, and Mya Fuller's story is precisely such a deep slash. It reminds each of us that the boundary between everyday peace and tragedy is sometimes as thin as a single hair. Vigilance is not extreme cynicism, but a necessary shield in an era where malice sometimes wears the most perfect disguise. When night falls and invitations on social media flash, remember that not every light lit in the darkness leads you to the dawn. Justice has ultimately been carried out, but the pain and lessons from this case retain their full cautionary value. What do you think about the life sentence for the mastermind and the sentences for the accomplices? Has this punishment proved strong enough to deter potential traps in current cyberspace? Leave your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to click subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next cases. Thank you for watching. See you in future video episodes.